Jake Morrison walked through the long hallway that led to the Galactic Council chamber. His black shoes made soft sounds on the smooth metal floor. The walls around him showed pictures of many different alien species that belonged to the Council. Some had big eyes, some had scales, and others looked like walking crystals. Jake had seen these pictures many times before, but today they felt different. Today was his third time asking the Council to let humans join them. The doors to the chamber opened with a quiet hiss. Jake stepped inside and felt small. The room was huge and filled with beings from 47 different worlds. They sat in rows that went up toward the ceiling like steps. At the top sat the most important council members. Their eyes all turned to look at Jake as he walked to the center of the room. Jake wore his best blue uniform with the Earth symbol on his chest. He carried a small device that held all of humanity's achievements and hopes. For 5 years he had been Earth's voice to the galaxy. For 5 years he had been trying to prove that humans deserved a place among the stars. Elder Zixthara sat in the front row. Her body was made of living crystal that changed colors when she moved. She had been alive for over 300 years and had seen many species come and go. Next to her sat Council Prime Veltar. His green skin had patterns that showed his mood. Right now those patterns showed he was not happy to see Jake again. Jake cleared his throat and began to speak. His voice was strong and clear. He had practiced these words many times. Honored members of the Galactic Council, I come before you, today representing the people of Earth. We are a young species, but we have grown much in the past 50 years. We have learned to live in peace with each other. We have built cities that touch the sky and ships that can travel between stars. We have art and music and stories that could add beauty to your great civilization. Some of the aliens in the room made sounds that Jake knew meant they were not impressed. A few others seemed to listen with interest. Jake continued talking about human achievements in science and medicine. He told them about the hospitals humans had built on 3 different worlds. He explained how human doctors had found cures for diseases that had hurt other species for hundreds of years. Elder Zixthara raised one of her 4 arms. The room became quiet. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Human Morrison, your species is still very young. You have only been traveling to other worlds for 60 years. Most council members have been doing this for thousands of years. Your people still fight wars with each other. You still destroy your own planet's environment. How can we trust you to be peaceful members of our council? Jake felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his voice calm. Elder Zixthara, it is true that humans have made mistakes, but we have learned from them. The wars you speak of ended 30 years ago. We have worked hard to heal our planet and to become better people. Every species has had to grow and change. We ask only for the chance to prove ourselves. Council Prime Veltar stood up from his seat. His patterns now showed anger and impatience. Ambassador Morrison, we have studied your species carefully. Your technology follows the same path that all young species take. You have nothing new to offer us. Your ships are slow, your weapons are weak, and your science is hundreds of years behind ours. What reason do we have to accept you when you bring nothing of value? The words hit Jake like a physical blow. He had expected this argument, but it still hurt to hear. Council Prime, humans may not have the most advanced technology, but we have other gifts. We have creativity and determination. We solve problems in ways that others have not tried. We believe that different ideas make everyone stronger. A being that looked like a giant insect clicked its mandibles in what Jake knew was laughter. Human creativity, it said in a voice that buzzed. We have seen your art and your music. They are simple things that amuse children. We have art forms that can change the very fabric of space and time. Your creativity is nothing special. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he pushed it down. Getting angry would not help humans get into the council. He tried one more time. I understand your concerns about our youth and our technology, but every member of this council was once young. Every species here once had simple technology. You gave them chances to grow and prove themselves. All we ask is for the same chance. Elder Zixthara's crystal body flickered with different colors, as she thought. Finally, she spoke again. The council has made its decision. We will vote now on whether to accept humanity as a member species. The vote was fast and brutal. Jake watched as 44 hands, claws, tentacles, and other appendages rose to vote against humanity. Only 3 members chose not to vote at all. Not a single being voted in favor of letting humans join. Council Prime Veltar announced the result with no emotion in his voice. The application of the human species for council membership is rejected. You may apply again in 50 years if your species still exists and has shown significant advancement. Jake bowed low, as was required by council tradition. I thank the council for considering our application. Humanity will continue to grow, and perhaps we will meet again in the future. He turned and walked toward the door. Behind him, he could hear the aliens already starting to discuss other business as if humans had never existed. As Jake reached the hallway, he heard Elder Zixthera speaking quietly to another council member. Another primitive species with big dreams, she said. They will probably destroy themselves before we see them again. It is better this way. Jake's hands turned into fists, but he kept walking. The long journey back to Earth would give him time to think about what to tell President Lisa Harper and the millions of humans who were waiting for news. He had failed again, but something inside him said that this was not the end of the story. The council had made their choice, and now humanity would have to make theirs. 20 years had passed since the council rejected humanity for the 3rd time. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in her laboratory on Luna Base and stared at numbers that should not exist. The computer screens around her showed readings that went against everything the scientific community believed about space travel. Her hands shook slightly as she checked the calculations for the 100th time. Elena had been working on quantum field theory for 15 years. She was one of Earth's best scientists, but even she had trouble believing what her experiments were showing. The quantum slip drive that her team had built was doing something impossible. It was moving objects faster than light without using the wormhole networks that the Galactic Council controlled. Dr. Rodriguez called Ben Carter from across the lab. Ben was Elena's research partner and had been working with her since the project began 3 years ago. The test probe has returned from Alpha Centauri. The trip took exactly 47 minutes. Elena felt her heart skip a beat. The fastest council ships took 3 hours to make the same journey using their wormhole technology. Run the diagnostics on the probe, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Check everything twice. While Ben worked on the probe, Elena thought about how they had discovered this breakthrough. It started when she noticed that quantum particles sometimes appeared to skip between dimensions during their experiments. Instead of trying to stop this effect like other scientists had done, Elena decided to study it. She found that these particles were taking shortcuts through space that nobody knew existed. The door to the lab opened and Commander Ryan Kelly walked in. Ryan was the military liaison assigned to Elena's project. He was a serious man who never smiled, but he treated Elena's work with respect. Dr. Rodriguez, I received your message. You said you had important news. Elena pointed to the screen showing the test results. Commander, we have achieved stable faster-than-light travel without using Council infrastructure. Our quantum slip drive can move ships between star systems faster and more efficiently than anything the Council has. Ryan studied the data for several minutes. His training had taught him to be suspicious of claims that seemed too good to be true. But the numbers were clear, and Elena had never lied to him before. Dr. Rodriguez, are you telling me that we can travel to other star systems without needing permission from the Council? Not just travel, Commander. We can do it better than they can. The quantum slip drive uses natural properties of space that the Council has never discovered. While they build expensive wormhole gates that can be destroyed or controlled, our ships can slip between dimensions anywhere in space. Elena pulled up another set of data on her screen. Look at these energy readings. Council ships need massive amounts of power to open wormholes. Our drive uses only a fraction of that energy. We could build a fleet of slip drive ships for the cost of one Council vessel. Ryan was quiet for a long time as he thought about what this meant. Finally, he spoke. Dr. Rodriguez, how soon can we build a ship large enough to carry people? Give me 6 months and a bigger budget, Elena replied. I can have a prototype ready for human testing. Meanwhile, on the agricultural world of Kepler 442b, Amy Watson was creating her own miracle. Amy had been sent to this planet 5 years ago to establish food production for the small human colony there. The council had told humans that the soil on this world was too poor to grow enough food for a large population. They said humans would never be able to support more than a few hundred people here. Amy had looked at the problem differently. Instead of trying to change the soil to match Earth plants, she had worked to change the plants to match the soil. Using genetic techniques that combined human intuition with advanced biotechnology, Amy had created hybrid crops that thrived in conditions that should have killed them. Her wheat fields now produced 3 times more grain per acre than the best farms on Earth. Her vegetable gardens grew food that was more nutritious and tasted better than anything found in council space. The secret was in understanding how the plants wanted to grow instead of forcing them to grow the way humans expected. Colony leader Peter Morgan could hardly believe the reports that Amy brought him each month. "Amy, your food production numbers are incredible. We have enough surplus to feed 3 times our current population." The council experts said this was impossible. Amy smiled as she showed Peter through her latest greenhouse. "The council thinks about farming the way they think about everything else. They have rules and formulas that they never question. But plants are living things that adapt and change. If you listen to what they need instead of forcing them to follow your rules, they will surprise you with what they can do." News of these breakthroughs began to reach the council through their monitoring stations, scattered throughout human space. Intelligence reports described technologies that did not match council predictions about human development. Scientists, who had classified humanity as a primitive species, were forced to revise their assessments. Councillor Thekvar read the reports with growing irritation. Thekvar was responsible for monitoring young species, and his reports had been used to justify rejecting humanity. "These claims are clearly exaggerated," he told his aide. "The humans are probably misunderstanding their own test results. Our analysis showed they were centuries behind our technology level." But Elder Zixthera was beginning to feel worried as she studied the detailed intelligence data. The reports described scientific achievements that even advanced council species had not accomplished. If these reports were accurate, then the council had made a serious mistake in dismissing humanity. "Send a research team to investigate these claims," she ordered her staff. "Use our best scientists and tell them to be thorough. If humans have actually developed new technologies, then we need to understand how they did it." On Earth, President Lisa Harper was reading similar reports from her science advisors. The quantum slip drive project was ahead of schedule, and Amy's agricultural techniques were being tested on 12 different worlds. Other human scientists were making breakthroughs in energy production, medicine, and materials science that surprised even their own colleagues. "It seems that being rejected by the council was the best thing that could have happened to us," Lisa told her cabinet during their weekly meeting. "When we stopped trying to impress them with conventional achievements, our people started thinking in completely new ways." Secretary of Science Maria Gonzalez agreed. "The council's rejection forced us to find our own path. Instead of copying their technology, we developed our own solutions. We have become something they never expected us to become." President Harper stood up and walked to the window that looked out over the rebuilt Earth. The planet was greener and cleaner than it had been in centuries. Human cities now worked in harmony with nature instead of destroying it. "Perhaps it is time to show the galaxy what humanity has accomplished," she said quietly. "But this time we will do it on our own terms." Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise and watched the last human colonies prepare to leave council-monitored space. Through the main viewing screen, she could see dozens of ships loading supplies and equipment. Each vessel was equipped with the new quantum slip drive that would take them to regions of the galaxy that had never been explored. Kate had commanded human space forces for 12 years. She had watched her people grow from a small collection of colonies into something much larger and more confident. The council's rejection had hurt at first, but now she understood it had been a gift. Without council oversight, humans had been free to develop their own ways of doing things. "Admiral, we are receiving another transmission from the council," said Communications Officer Tyler Brooks. Tyler was young, but he had proven himself reliable during the past year of negotiations. "It is Council Prime Veltar again." Kate sighed, quietly. This would be the 5th time this week that the Council had tried to contact her. "Put him on screen, Tyler. Let's hear what he has to say this time." The image of Council Prime Veltar appeared on the main screen. His green skin showed patterns that Kate had learned meant worry and desperation. Behind him, she could see other council members moving around in what looked like confusion. "Admiral Sullivan, the Council wishes to reopen discussions about humanity's status in the galactic community. We believe our previous assessments may have been incomplete." Kate kept her voice polite but firm. "Council Prime, I appreciate your reconsideration of humanity's application. However, my people have found their own path forward. We no longer require Council membership to achieve our goals or protect our interests." Veltar's skin patterns shifted to show even more distress. "Admiral, surely we can find some arrangement that benefits both our peoples. The Council has resources and knowledge that could help humanity continue to grow. We are prepared to offer you associate membership with full trading rights. Thank you for the offer, Council Prime, but humans have already established our own trading relationships. We have also developed our own resource-gathering operations in regions that your people have never explored. We appreciate your interest, but we must decline." Kate gestured to Tyler to end the transmission. The screen went dark, leaving Kate to stare at her own reflection. 6 months ago, she would have been excited to receive such an offer from the Council. Now it felt like too little offered too late. Humanity had moved beyond needing the Council's approval or assistance. On the research station Horizon, Dr. Alex Turner was putting the finishing touches on energy shielding technology that would change space warfare forever. Alex had been working on defensive systems for 8 years, but his latest breakthrough went far beyond anything the Council military forces possessed. The shield generators that Alex had developed could manipulate dark matter in ways that Council scientists said were impossible. When activated, these shields made human ships nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons. Energy beams that should have destroyed a vessel simply passed through the dark matter field without causing damage. "Run the test one more time," Alex told his research team. "I want to be absolutely certain that these shields will protect our exploration fleets." On the screen in front of him, a simulation showed a human ship surviving attacks that would have vaporized any Council vessel. Alex's assistant, Dr. Jennifer Walsh, looked up from her calculations. "The power requirements are incredibly low compared to Council shield technology. We can maintain full protection for weeks using only standard ship power supplies. Their shields drain so much energy that most Council ships can only use them for a few hours. That's because they are still thinking about shields as barriers that block attacks," Alex explained. "Our shields don't block anything. They redirect attacking energy into parallel dimensions where it cannot hurt us. It's a completely different approach to the same problem." Captain Nicole Adams was commanding the first human exploration fleet to venture beyond the galactic rim. Her ships had been traveling for 3 months using the quantum slip drive to reach areas that no known species had ever visited. What they found there exceeded even the most optimistic predictions. "Captain, long-range sensors are detecting massive mineral deposits on the 4th planet of this system," reported Science Officer George Patterson. "The readings show rare elements that are worth more than the entire Council gross domestic product." Nicole studied the sensor data with growing excitement. The planet contained not just valuable minerals, but also energy sources that could power human civilization for thousands of years. "Begin detailed scans of the entire system, George. I want to know everything about these worlds before we establish our first mining operations." Communications Officer Lisa Price turned from her station with a concerned expression. "Captain, I am picking up automated distress signals from the edge of this system. The signals are very old and appear to be from a species that the Council database has no record of." Nicole felt a chill run through her. If there were unknown species in this region, first contact would require careful handling. "Set course for the source of those signals, Lisa. Let's see what we can learn about our new neighbors." The fleet arrived at the source of the distress signals 12 hours later. What they found was a massive space station that had been abandoned for centuries. The technology was unlike anything in Council space, but human scientists were able to decode enough of the computer systems to understand what had happened. The species that built this station called themselves the Ancients, Nicole told her, senior staff during their briefing. They were incredibly advanced, but they disappeared about 500 years ago. Their records indicate they were fleeing from something that was hunting them across the galaxy. Chief Engineer Kevin Murphy studied the ancient technology with fascination. Captain, their power systems are based on principles that we are just beginning to understand. If we could learn how to build these energy generators, we could power entire star systems with devices the size of a small building. Nicole made her decision quickly. Begin salvage operations immediately. I want our best scientists studying every piece of ancient technology we can recover. This knowledge could change everything for humanity. Back in Council space, the exodus of human colonies was causing serious problems for the galactic government. Trade routes that had been profitable for centuries were being abandoned as species chose to use human transportation services instead. The quantum slip drive had made Council wormhole networks obsolete almost overnight. Elder Zix Thera called an emergency session of the full Council to address the growing crisis. Fellow Council members, we are facing a situation that threatens the stability of our entire civilization. 43 of our member species have requested permission to establish independent relationships with humanity. Several have threatened to leave the Council entirely if we refuse their requests. The chamber erupted in angry voices as Council members argued about how to respond to the human challenge. Some wanted to use military force to stop human expansion. Others believed that negotiation was the only solution. A few suggested that the Council should simply accept that humanity had outgrown their need for galactic government. Council Prime Veltar called for order, but his authority was clearly weakening. The intelligence reports we have received indicate that human technology now surpasses our own in several critical areas. Their slip drive technology alone has revolutionized space travel. We must find a way to work with them or risk becoming irrelevant. But when Council ships finally reached the locations where human colonies had existed, they found only empty space. The humans had taken everything with them and disappeared into the unexplored regions beyond Council influence. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Council was faced with a problem they could not solve through politics or force. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 6 hours, and the situation was getting worse with each report. Elder Zix Thera looked around the chamber and saw fear in the faces of beings who had never known uncertainty. For 1,000 years, the Council had been the most powerful force in the galaxy, but now they were watching their authority crumble. The humans are trading directly with our member worlds, reported Councillor Yethmir, his 6 eyes reflecting genuine panic. They are offering technologies and services that we cannot match. 3 of our most important industrial worlds have stopped using Council transportation networks completely. Council Prime Veltar stood up from his seat, but his usual commanding presence was gone. His skin patterns showed confusion and desperation. How is this possible? Our intelligence reports classified human technology as primitive just 5 years ago. They should not have been capable of developing anything that could challenge our systems. Intelligence Chief Rathkor activated a holographic display that showed trade routes throughout Council space. Red lines indicated routes that had been abandoned in favor of human services. The display was mostly red. Council Prime. The humans have revolutionized space travel with their quantum slip drive technology. Ships using their systems can travel between any 2 points in the galaxy without using our wormhole networks. The travel time is faster, and the energy costs are much lower. Elder Zixathera's crystal body pulsed with agitation as she studied the display. This technology should not exist. Our best scientists have studied faster than light travel for thousands of years. The wormhole method is the only way to move ships across interstellar distances safely and efficiently. That is what we believed, Rathkor replied grimly. But the humans have found a different solution. They are using quantum field manipulation to slip their ships between dimensions. Our scientists are calling it impossible, but the results speak for themselves. Security Director Tekvar activated another display showing military intelligence reports. The situation is even worse than we initially thought. Captain Dan Morgan has been negotiating mutual defense pacts with non-Council species in the Outer Rim territories. 12 different civilizations have agreed to military cooperation with humanity. The chamber erupted in angry voices as Council members realized the implications. If humans were building military alliances with non-Council species, they could challenge Council authority directly. Some of the older members remembered the last time a major power had risen to threaten galactic stability. That conflict had lasted for decades and devastated entire star systems. What about their military capabilities? Asked War Council leader Vexithar. Our projections showed that human weapons technology was centuries behind our own. Surely we maintain military superiority. Tekevar's expression became even grimmer as he brought up classified military reports. General Patricia Hayes has been establishing human military academies on frontier worlds. They are training alien officers in tactics and strategies that our military analysts have never encountered. More concerning, they appear to have developed defensive systems that make their ships nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons. Elder Zixthera felt a cold sensation spread through her crystal matrix. Explain what you mean by invulnerable. Their new shield technology manipulates dark matter in ways that our scientists say should be impossible. Energy weapons that should destroy a ship simply pass through their defensive fields without causing damage. Our most powerful warships could not penetrate these shields even at point-blank range. Council Prime Veltar sat down heavily in his chair. The weight of the Council's mistake was becoming clear to everyone in the chamber. How many of our member species have requested permission to establish independent relationships with humanity? 40. 3 so far, replied Diplomatic Corps Leader Zendar. And the number is growing every day. The humans are offering trade agreements, technology transfers, and military protection that we cannot match. Several species have threatened to leave the Council entirely if we try to prevent them from working with humanity. The most shocking report came from economic analyst Rethman. His data showed the financial impact of human competition on Council member worlds. The human Commonwealth is offering economic opportunities that our traditional systems cannot provide. They have discovered resource deposits in unexplored regions that dwarf anything available in Council space. Species that join their Commonwealth are experiencing economic growth that exceeds our best projections. Elder Zixthera reviewed the economic data with growing alarm. These numbers suggest that the human Commonwealth could become wealthier than the entire Council within just a few decades. How did we fail to predict this level of resource availability in the outer regions? We never explored those areas because our scientists determined they were too dangerous or too difficult to reach, Rethman explained. The humans ignored our assessments and explored anyway. They have found worlds rich in rare minerals, energy sources, and even abandoned alien technologies that we knew nothing about. The discussion was interrupted when Communications Director Lexitar announced an urgent message. Council Prime, we are receiving a transmission from Dr. Chris Evans. He was humanity's cultural attaché before they left Council space. The message was sent 6 months ago, but only reached us now through the quantum relay network. The holographic display activated to show the image of Dr. Chris Evans standing in what appeared to be a human starship bridge. Behind him, other humans worked at control stations that used technology the Council had never seen before. Chris looked directly at the Council camera and spoke with quiet confidence. Members of the Galactic Council, by the time you receive this message, humanity will have completed our withdrawal from Council-monitored space. I want you to understand that this decision was not made in anger or revenge. We simply realized that we had outgrown our need for your approval or assistance. Elder Zixthera leaned forward as Chris continued his message. When you rejected our membership applications, you told us that we had nothing of value to offer your civilization. You were wrong about that, but your rejection taught us something important. We learned that we did not need you to accomplish our goals or fulfill our potential. The message continued with Chris explaining how human scientists had developed new technologies by thinking beyond Council limitations. He described the quantum slip drive, the dark matter shields, and the agricultural breakthroughs that had surprised even human researchers. We succeeded because we stopped trying to copy your methods and started developing our own solutions. Council Prime Veltar watched with growing dread as Chris delivered the final part of his message. You will understand our value only when it is no longer available to you. By the time you realize your mistake, we will have moved beyond your reach. Humanity wishes the Council well, but we will not be returning to ask for your acceptance again. The transmission ended, leaving the Council chamber in stunned silence. The implications of Chris's words were clear to everyone present. Humanity had not just left Council space, they had evolved beyond the need for Council civilization entirely. When the Council finally voted to offer humanity full membership with unprecedented privileges and shared leadership rights, their messenger ships found only empty space where human colonies had once existed. The humans had taken everything with them and disappeared into regions that Council ships could not safely reach. Elder Zixthara stared at the empty display screen and felt something she had never experienced in her 300 years of life. She felt obsolete. The galaxy's most powerful civilization had been outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as primitive just decades earlier. 5 years had passed since the Council's emergency session, and the situation had become worse than anyone could have imagined. The Great Chamber that had once held representatives from 47 different species now echoed with emptiness. Only 12 members remained loyal to the Council, and even they were beginning to question whether their allegiance was worth maintaining. President Martin Davis of the Human Commonwealth sat in his office aboard the mobile capital ship Liberty and reviewed the morning reports. Through his window, he could see the vast fleet that had assembled for the quarterly Commonwealth meeting. Ships from dozens of species flew together under the blue and silver banner that had become a symbol of cooperation throughout the galaxy. Martin had been elected president 3 years ago when the Commonwealth Constitution was ratified. Unlike the Council's rigid hierarchy, the Commonwealth was built on principles of equality and mutual benefit. Every member species had an equal voice in government regardless of their technological level or military power. The system worked because it was based on what each species could contribute rather than what they could demand. Mr. President, the Council's final delegation has arrived, announced his aide secretary Janet Williams. Council Prime Veltar is requesting an immediate meeting. He says the matter is urgent. Martin nodded and straightened his uniform. He had been expecting this visit for months. Intelligence reports indicated that the Council was facing complete collapse as more species abandoned them to join the Commonwealth or pursue independent relationships with humanity. Send them in, Janet. Let's hear what they have to say. Council Prime Veltar entered the office looking far older and more defeated than when Martin had last seen him. The green patterns on his skin showed exhaustion and desperation. Behind him walked Elder Zixthara, whose crystal body had lost much of its former brilliance. 2 other council members completed the delegation, but Martin could see that their authority was mostly ceremonial now. President Davis, thank you for agreeing to see us, Veltar began, his voice lacking its former commanding tone. The Council recognizes that we have made serious errors in our relationship with humanity. We come to you today, hoping to find a path toward reconciliation and cooperation. Martin gestured for the delegation to sit down at the conference table that dominated one side of his office. Council Prime, I appreciate your honesty about past mistakes. What exactly are you proposing? Elder Zixthara leaned forward, her crystal form pulsing with nervous energy. President Davis, we are prepared to offer humanity and the Commonwealth something that has never been offered before. Complete integration into Council leadership with shared decision-making authority. You would have equal status with the founding members and full access to all Council technologies and resources. Martin studied the faces of the delegation and saw genuine desperation in their expressions. Elder Zixthara, what technologies and resources are you referring to? Our intelligence reports suggest that Commonwealth technology now exceeds Council capabilities in most areas. Veltar's skin patterns shifted to show embarrassment. It is true that your quantum slip drive and defensive systems are superior to our own, but we still possess knowledge of galactic history and diplomatic relationships that could benefit your people. Council Prime, when humanity needed allies and guidance, You turned us away 3 times. You declared us unworthy of membership and predicted that we would destroy ourselves. Now that we have built something better than what you offered, you want to be part of it." Martin's voice remained calm, but his words carried the weight of history. The door to the office opened and Admiral Kate Sullivan entered with her senior staff. Kate had been monitoring the council situation, and her expression suggested that the news was not good. "Mr. President, I apologize for interrupting, but you need to see the latest intelligence reports." Kate activated a holographic display that showed the current state of council space. Red zones indicated systems where governments had collapsed or declared independence. Blue areas marked territories that had joined the Commonwealth. Green regions showed worlds that had established independent relationships with humanity. The display was mostly red and blue, with very little of the yellow that represented remaining council territory. As you can see, Council Prime, your organization, no longer controls enough territory or resources to be considered a major galactic power, Kate explained. Of your original 47 member species, only 8 remain under council authority. The rest have either joined us or pursued independent development. Elder Zixthera stared at the display with growing horror. This cannot be accurate. The council has governed galactic civilization for 1,000 years. We cannot simply disappear. Martin stood up and walked to the window that looked out over the Commonwealth fleet. Elder Zixthera, the council served an important purpose for many centuries. But you made a critical error when you assumed that your way of doing things was the only way. When you rejected humanity, you also rejected the possibility of growth and change. He turned back to face the delegation. The Commonwealth succeeds because we welcome new ideas and different approaches to old problems. Every species that joins us brings unique perspectives that make all of us stronger. The council failed because it tried to force everyone to follow the same patterns. Communications Officer Tyler Brooks entered the office with an urgent message. "Mr. President, we are receiving surrender transmissions from the remaining council fleets. They are requesting permission to join Commonwealth territory and asking for protection from the chaos in their former space." Veltar's skin patterns showed complete defeat as he realized that even his military forces were abandoning the council. "President Davis, surely there must be some way for our peoples to work together. The knowledge and experience of the council could still be valuable to the Commonwealth." Martin returned to his seat and looked directly at each member of the delegation. "Council Prime, the Commonwealth is open to all species that wish to join us. But you will be evaluated by the same standards we apply to everyone else. What unique value can you bring to our community? What contributions can you make that will benefit all Commonwealth members?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. For 1,000 years, the council had expected other species to prove their worth for membership. Now they were being asked to justify their own value by the same species they had repeatedly rejected. Elder Zixthera spoke quietly, her crystal voice barely audible. "We had the chance to guide humanity when you were young and uncertain. Instead, we taught you that you did not need us. Now you have proven that you truly do not need us." "That is not entirely true," Martin replied with surprising gentleness. "Humanity learned valuable lessons from our rejection by the council. We learned to be self-reliant and to value different approaches to problems. In a strange way, the council's rejection helped make us who we are today." Admiral Kate Sullivan stepped forward with a proposal. "Mr. President, perhaps we could offer the remaining council species associate membership in the Commonwealth. They could contribute their historical knowledge and diplomatic experience while learning our methods of inclusive governance." Martin considered the suggestion carefully. That might be possible, but they would need to accept that the Commonwealth operates differently than the Council did. Every member has an equal voice regardless of their past power or influence. Veltar looked at his fellow council members and saw acceptance in their expressions. The alternative to joining the Commonwealth was watching their civilization disappear entirely. "President Davis, we accept your offer of associate membership. We are prepared to contribute what we can and to learn from your example." 6 months later, Admiral Kevin Murphy commanded the newest Commonwealth exploration fleet as it pushed deeper into unexplored regions than any known species had ever traveled. Behind him, a galaxy transformed by human determination and inclusive thinking continued to expand and grow. The empty council chambers had been converted into a museum that reminded visitors about the importance of embracing change and welcoming new ideas. The inscription above the museum entrance was written in dozens of different languages, but the message was the same in all of them. Here stood a government that forgot that strength comes from unity, not uniformity. May future generations learn from their mistake. Elder Zix Thara often visited the museum during her work as a Commonwealth historical advisor. She would stand in the chamber where she had once rejected humanity's membership application and remember the moment when the Council's fate was sealed. They had been given the chance to embrace humanity as partners, but had chosen to see them as competitors instead. The galaxy was better now under Commonwealth leadership, but Zixithara knew that the price of the Council's prejudice would never be forgotten. Humanity had offered cooperation and been given rejection. When they finally left Council space, it was indeed too late to fix the mistake that had cost the galaxy its oldest government.